The Talmud even referred to it sometimes as Yom Kippurim is a day like Purim. And as you know, Purim is a happy day. Now, we're not going to be so happy tonight, but just as a reminder. So, please, let's begin. Yeah, we'll talk later. Yom Kippur Eve, the rabbi very passionately was talking to his congregation, warning them about the fragility of life. One day, he said, everyone in this congregation is going to die. Seated in the front row was a nice old Jewish grandmother who was laughing. When the rabbi realized, he was really annoyed, and he went to her and said, "What's so funny?" She referred to him and said, "Well, Rabbi, I do not belong to this congregation. So whether you have been here since the inception of this congregation, or you're new to our congregation, or you're just visiting with us, you're all welcome. Thank you for being here. Whether you come almost every Shabbat, or this is the only service you're planning to attend during the year, you are welcome. Whether you were born Jewish, chose to be Jewish, or just like to hang out with Jewish people, you're welcome. Thank you for being with us. Thank you for joining us for Kol Nidre Eve.
It doesn't matter if you've broken your vows 1,000 times before, and yet again, come again, come, and yet again, come. Come, whoever you are, wanderer, worshiper, lover of believing, and come. Come, whoever you are. This isn't a caravan of despair. Come, come, whoever you are, wanderer, worshiper, lover of believing, and come. Come, whoever you are. This isn't a caravan of despair, 'cause it doesn't matter if you've broken your vows 1,000 times before, and yet again, come again, come, and yet again, come. Come 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 again, come. Join with us. Come, come, whoever you are, wanderer, worshiper, lover of believing, and come. Come, whoever you are. This isn't a caravan of despair. Come, come, whoever you are, wanderer, worshiper, lover of believing, and come. Come, whoever you are. This isn't a caravan of despair, 'cause it doesn't matter if you've broken your vows 1,000 times before, and yet again, come again, come, and yet again, come.
I would like to invite now Leah and Ed Frankel to lead us in the lighting of Yom Kippur candles.
Hear my prayer, I sing to you. Be gracious to the ones I love,
And bless them with goodness and mercy.
and peace. I'll hear my prayer to you.
Let's read together. Here is the lamp of God, searching out what lies within us, guided by the flame of conscience. On the sacred night we search for truth. Shine your light upon us as we strive to serve you. May we find safety in your faithful love. We light the flame of healing and forgiveness on this atonement night. We give thanks.
love.
Let us light
These lights
and see the way to you, and let us say Amen. Let us light these lights and see the way to you.
and let us say
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu le'adlik ner shel Yom HaKippurim.
Thank you.
We continue on page 9 with the words of Shechianu.
Baruch
atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, שהחיינו וקיימנו והגיענו לזמן הזה. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, שהחיינו וקיימנו והגיענו לזמן הזה.
Please rise. We turn to page 16, or you may follow the prayers on the screens.
Ay, 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 ay.
Nidre, we normally stand for a long time. We try to shorten it as much as possible, but still it's long time to stand. If you need, if you want, just don't hesitate. You need to be comfortable, enjoy the service, and finding meaningful. So you're always welcome to sit down. Page 16.
Yeshiva shel malach, o yeshiva shel matar, hadat hamakom, ve'al dat hakahal, anu Palelim havaryanim.
Amen.
Let's read together. With
One voice assembled, sages past and present declare,
all make prayers one on this night of repentance.
let none be excluded from our immediate prayer. With one voice, God and the congregation proclaim,
all may pray as one on this day of return.
let all
Find place in this sacred assembly. And we turn to page 18 or up on the screens as we first read the English translation of Kol Nidre, followed by the beautiful singing of this ancient prayer. All vows, resolve, and commitments, vows of abstinence and terms of obligation, sworn promises and oaths of declaration,
that we promise and swear to God and take upon ourselves from this day of atonement until next day of atonement, may it find us well. We regret them, and for all of them we repent. Let all of them be discarded and forgiven,
abolished and undone. They are not valid and they are not binding. Our vows shall not be vows, our resolves shall not be resolves, and our oaths shall not be oaths. together on the bottom of page 20. And God responded, I forgive as you have asked. You may be seated.
page 20.
Originally, Kol Nidre was not really part of the evening service of Yom Kippur Eve. It was a ritual that people performed before Yom Kippur started, because when you really look at the words, this is a contract in which we say that our vows and promises are annulled. So in the beginning, it used to be in the afternoon, but then people didn't want just to come to the afternoon and go home and then come back to the temple. So they started to make it closer to the evening service until ultimately it became really the main component of the evening service. But the original evening service begins, like many of our services, with the call to worship, with the words of Baruch Hu. So I would like to invite you, please, to rise for the call to worship. But let's take this opportunity to turn to the people who sit next to us, behind us, in front of us, and let's wish each other Shana Tova, Gmar Chatima Tova. And we read together, Blessed are you, Adonai.
Your great name fills the universe with justice.
You may be seated.
Your words create twilight and dusk, as your wisdom opens the gates of night. Your discernment separates the changing seasons and causes the passage of time. The stars arrayed across the sky reveal your design. You roll out the cycle of darkness and light, shaping day and night. You sweep away day and carry the world into nightfall, setting day apart from nighttime. You are God of all we can perceive, and all that is beyond our perception. Living eternal God, be our sovereign to the end of time.
Baby, Lila, חי וקיים, תמיד ימלוך עלינו לעולם ועד. ברוך אתה אדוני,
The prayer of Shema is sandwiched between two prayers of love. We're going to sing the first one, say the Shema, and then Ve'ahavta will be the second one. Before we continue with the Shema, I would like to invite you, if you're comfortable, to close your eyes for a moment. And let's take a deep breath in, hold it, and breathe out. Let's take another deep breath in, hold it, and breathe out. Yom Kippur is the time in which God is inviting us to renew the relationship with God. It's time when we invite God back into our lives. Let's take this time to have a short conversation with God. Doesn't really matter what we say, as long as we say it and then we pause and listen. We may want to tell God things that we just cannot tell anyone else, no matter how close they are to us. We may want to ask some questions that we cannot find answers for. We can even complain and protest. We can say thank you for all the blessings in our lives. And we pause to listen. Let's take another deep breath in. And let's breathe out our pain and frustrations and disappointments of the past year. Kol Nidre is the best time to let go of everything we need to let go of. And as we breathe in and out again, let's say together the prayer of Shema Israel. Shema Israel, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad.
Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Le'olam Va'ed. Continue with the next paragraph of the Shema. Ve'ahavta.
Et Adonai Elohecha bechol levavecha ubechol nafshecha ubechol meodecha ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha bechol levavecha ubechol nafshecha ubechol meodecha.
Let's read together in English. You shall love
Adonai your God with all your mind, with all your soul, with all your strength. Set these words which I command you this day upon your heart. Teach them faithfully to your children. Speak of them in your home and on your way.
When you
When you
lie
lie
down and when you rise up,
bind them as a sign upon your hand. Let them be a symbol before your eyes. Inscribe them on the doorposts of your house and on your gates.
Ve'ahavta.
Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha bechol levavecha ubechol nafshecha ubechol meodecha. Ve'ahavta et freedom, mi chamocha.
We're on page 40 in your books if you're following Let me pray for peace.
Let there be peace. Let there be peace. Let there be peace. Let there be
Let there be love. Let there be love. Let there be love. Let there be love. We read together either on the screens or page 43. Bless our sleep with peace, Adonai, and awaken us to life when we rise. With power sublime, spread over us your shelter of shalom, and through your wisdom restore us, make us whole. Let your name proclaim your presence in our lives.
Be our shield.
Make us stronger than the enemies we face, illness and war, famine and sorrow, and stronger than the enemies in our hearts, wickedness and sin. Carry us to safety as on wings, for you are the monarch of grace, the sovereign of compassion. You are the one who cares for us and sets us free. Watch over us, we who go forth to life. Watch over us that we may come home in peace.
Now,
End of time.
Page 45 or on the screens. For in this day atonement shall be made for you to purify you from all your wrongs, and pure you shall be in the presence of Adonai.
Kaddish can be found on page 45.
If you're able, please rise for the tefillah. You can find it on page 46.
Adonai,
זוכרנו לחיים, מלך זוכרנו לחיים, זוכרנו לחיים, מלך זוכרנו לחיים, וחותמנו בספר החיים, למענך אלוהים חיים, למענך אלוהים חיים, וחותמנו בספר החיים, למענך אלוהים חיים, למענך אלוהים חיים. יה לה 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 לה, יה 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 לה 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 לה, יה 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 זוכרנו לחיים, מלך זוכרנו לחיים, זוכרנו לחיים, מלך זוכרנו לחיים, וחותמנו בספר החיים, למענך אלוהים חיים, למענך אלוהים חיים.
מלך עוזר, מושיע ומגן, ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן אברהם ועזרת שרה.
Let's read together. You are the source of blessing, Adonai, our God,
And God of our fathers and mothers, God of Abraham, God of Isaac, and God of Jacob, God of Sarah, God of Rebekah, God of Rachel, and God of Leah. Exalted God, dynamic in power, inspiring awe, God sublime, creator of all. Yet you offer us kindness, recall the loving deeds of our fathers and mothers, and bring redemption to their children's children, acting in love for the sake of your name. Remember us for life, sovereign God who treasures life. Inscribe us in the book of life, for your sake, God of life. Sovereign of salvation, pillar of protection.
אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, בחיי הכל אתה רב להושיע, מוריד אתה. מחבר
חיים וחסד, בחיי הכל רחמים רבים, צורך נופלים ורובד עולים, ולתיר אסורים, ולקיים אמונתו, בשבי עפר. ויחמו בבן גבורות, ומדומה ומדומה לה, מלך ברית ומחיה, ומצמיח ישועה.
מי כמוך אל הרחמים, זוכר יצוריו לחיים ברחמים. נאמן אתה להחיות הכל, ברוך אתה אדוני לחיי
We continue with a silent meditation. You may remain standing or be seated. You may continue with the traditional prayers in our prayer book or just pray, meditate your way. 4 years ago, in light of the violence against Jews in Europe, I dedicated my Yom Kippur sermons to the subject of anti-Semitism. Even though the focus was Europe, I did talk about the potential of violence against Jews in the United States because already in 2015 we had some indications that things are not good. But even if in my worst nightmares, I could not imagine that a major newspaper in our country will have the following headlines in Hebrew. It says, this is the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette, and the words here are Itgadal ve'Itkadash Shmei Rabbah. It was a beautiful gesture, and what else could you do after 11 people are shot to death in their synagogue during Shabbat? But even after that, many people still thought that, we still live in the same America that we know. It was horrible, but this kind of anti-Semitism does not happen to us. It happens somewhere else. And then April 27th, Poway, California. More killing of Jews in synagogues. And then all of us realized that we have a crisis. And it's not only people who were killed in synagogues. 2018, according to the ADL, there were 1,879 attacks on Jews. It was an increase of 99% since 2015. New York, the city that has the largest Jewish population, violence against Jews was 4 times more than violence against black people. Yeah, hate crimes in our country rose 17% in the past year. But it rose 37% against Jews. I don't think that many of us were prepared for that. You see, I've been a student of Jewish history, spent many, many years studying Jewish history, a lot of classes on anti-Semitism. I always learned and knew, and I still believe that anti-Semitism is an incurable disease that will never be eradicated. It's sort of a virus that keeps changing, mutilating into something else, a different strand. But deep down, I always thought that America is different. After all, the story of America is our story. It's the story of the Jewish people. Our founding fathers loved the story of Exodus. We were oppressed here. And then we rebelled against a tyrant, recrossed the sea, just like in the Exodus story. And we built a country built on a covenant of ethics, of morals. I know it was not perfect, it will never be perfect. But we're so proud of our democracy, our decency, our tolerance and acceptance. And now, we're facing a real crisis. It's imperative for us to take the whole issue of anti-Semitism very seriously. We need to study it. We need to understand its history, its roots, its psychology, sociology. We need to start to understand the nuances, the different vocabulary, intersectionality and replacement theories. But I don't have time. I have 20 minutes. I cannot do it. But in a few weeks, I will offer a class on anti-Semitism, when we really explore and understand, because we have to know who the enemy is and how to deal with it. What I chose to do today is to explore with you a few options of how to respond to this wave of hatred towards Jews, because our response will not only determine our life, but also the Jewish identity of the next generation. So what options are open to us? We tried many things throughout history. A popular way was just to be quiet, to keep silent. Just lay low, don't rock the boat, don't make waves. Let's not attract too much attention. We've done it for so many years. Rabbi Feinstein tells a beautiful story. When he was a young man, he said almost every week, he went to a rally, to a demonstration, to protest what was happening to the Soviet Jews, demanding that the American government to do much more to help them. One day, he turned to his mother, third-generation American, and said, "Mom, when you were young and you heard what was happening to the Jews in Europe in the 1930s and 40s, did you also go to rallies? Did you protest?" And she was so embarrassed. She looked down and said, "No, we didn't. We kept quiet. We didn't want to make too much noise because we're afraid that they will throw us out. But you," she said, "this is a new generation. You are America. So go and protest and do what you should do and save the lives of Jewish people." We cannot remain quiet. It's not really an option. Another option the Jews used a lot was the idea that we, the Jews, have to change. If we'll just change, they'll learn to like us. If we will assimilate more, they'll allow us to blend in. It never worked. When it comes to anti-Semitism, it doesn't really matter what we do. It's not our fault, and therefore there is nothing we can do to appease the anti-Semites. But Jews have tried it. Remember Theodor Herzl? He is the father of modern Zionism. He should get the credit for the establishment of the State of Israel. But before he published his book that called for establishment of a Jewish state in what used to be Palestine, only 3 years before, he published another manifesto in which he concluded that the only way for Jews to survive and to succeed was to convert to Christianity. And he has this description of how the Jews of Vienna will be marching towards the main church to accept the Christian faith. We don't know really what caused him to change his mind, but he realized that that wasn't an option, and this is not really an option. Not only that we cannot assimilate, we cannot change, we actually have to be more proud of who we are. We have to keep building our Jewish state, our Jewish identity. So what else can we do? We can fight. And we like to fight, and we're getting better at it. But fight against whom? Who exactly is the enemy? And this is what really keeps me up at night. We do have a serious enemy. But what do? We fight against each other. The wave of anti-Semitism lately, instead of unifying us, splits us. It breaks us into two camps. More than 3,000 years ago, there was a period in Jewish history that was known as the period of the judges, Shoftim. At that time, Israel was not a nation. It was what scholars consider to be a loose federation of tribes. There was the tribe of Reuben, the tribe of Judah, the tribe of Naphtali, of Benjamin, etc. They shared an identity, but they all had their particular agenda. Sometimes they were nice to each other, sometimes they were fighting. But whenever an outside enemy came along, they got together to defeat the enemy. There was a judge like Gideon and Samson and Jephthah, because that's what we should do when there is a common enemy. But that's not what we do. And I follow every article. I listen to people. That's not what's happening. What we are doing is pointing fingers on the other side. This is your fault and your people. No, this is your people. Nobody can really destroy the Jewish people except of the Jewish people. And we should be really careful not to go down this path. Let me just give you 2 examples from the past week. I have hundreds, and I'm sure that you have your own. I heard from a prominent Orthodox rabbi in New York who told the story that after the shooting in Pittsburgh, one of his close friends, an active member of the Jewish community, came to him and said, "It was awful, right? But isn't the anti-Semitism of the left with their BDS and anti-Zionism much worse?" The rabbi was dumbfounded. He said, "I cannot talk to you. 11 families are sitting Shiva, and you're sitting and playing these political games of whose fault it is, who is more to be blamed for that?" Many people send me articles all the time. I read them, but I don't do a good job before the high holidays. I'm quite busy. But one article that was sent to me, I had to open. Because the headline, the title of the article was, "Why I Left My Synagogue on Rosh Hashanah During My Rabbi's Sermon." Well, I don't want you to live. I want all of you to love me, and the last thing I want is for any of you tomorrow night, as you get together with your friends and family to break the fast, to refer to me as my former rabbi, as the young gentleman did in his very well-written article. He left the synagogue, he left the rabbi whom he knew all his life. And why did he do it? First, because the rabbi talked about anti-Semitism. Wow. I have to tell you, I'm sure that every rabbi in the United States is dedicating at least one sermon these holidays for anti-Semitism. It's not that we want to do it, but we must do it. Not doing it is admitting that there's nothing really serious happening around us. And there is. But his main complaint was that his rabbi in his sermon said that anti-Semitism today in America comes from both sides, from the far right and from the far left. And he was so angry that the rabbi did not dedicate his sermon to criticize President Trump and his administration. But that's what we do. So those of us on the right, when something happens, when the extremist right-wing people do something, we point fingers at the left side, and those of us on the left do the same. It's a lot of fun. It is really deliciously satisfying to sit with your friends who think like you, who read the same newspaper that you read, who watch the same TV station that you watch, and criticize the other side. Only that we cannot afford doing it anymore. There is a real crisis now. We cannot deny it. And fighting against each other is doing the anti-Semites' work for them. They win, we lose. We cannot do it. We have to fight this temptation. We have to call anti-Semitism whenever we see it. On my side, on your side, on any side, and to fight it together. So what is this anti-Semitism from the right and the left? I actually think that it comes from more directions. You know, in Florida, we like the weather. So a good description of what's happening now is a perfect storm. Remember Hurricane Sandy? Perfect storm is when we have meteorological systems coming from different directions and then converge on us. And that's exactly what's happening. We have anti-Semitism from the right. We have anti-Semitism from the left. And we have anti-Semitism from extremist Islamists. And we're not in a position when we try to protect ourselves from a perfect storm to say, you know what? The system from the west is much stronger, so let me just put shutters on the east side of my house and take care of that. It's not working like that. The best way to describe the different kinds of anti-Semitism, I'm going deliberately to ignore the anti-Semitism that is coming from Islamic extremists only because I have no time, but this is the kind of anti-Semitism that we see mostly in Europe. But we see it here, and I hope not to see more of that. So the best description of the major two kinds of anti-Semitism is one author wrote, there is anti-Semitism of Purim and anti-Semitism of Hanukkah. And as I read it, I started laughing because that was one of the first lessons that I learned in yeshiva, probably in 3rd, 4th grade. And we learned it twice a year, before Purim and before Hanukkah, because there is a question among the ancient rabbis, what's the difference? Because these were evil people, these were evil people. So what is anti-Semitism of Purim? Remember Haman? Haman wanted to kill us all. This is very easy, bland, simple kind of anti-Semitism. We should kill all the Jews. That was the anti-Semitism of Haman. This is Iran. This is Hamas. This is the white nationalists, the white supremacists. They're not playing games. They're not hiding it. They're not apologizing for it. We don't want Jews here. You want to kill the Jews? We'll do whatever we can to do that. Very simple. Each and every generation has a different reason for that. So what is the reason du jour of the extreme right to kill the Jews? This is the replacement theory. According to this group of really extremist right-wing people, America belongs only to white Christians. That's the real America. We Jews are neither white, according to them, nor Christians. Now, they're not afraid that we will replace them because we're only 5-point-something million. Their fear is that the black and brown people will replace them. But since they believe that black and brown people cannot do it on their own, who is going to orchestrate this replacement conspiracy for them? Of course, the Jews. Okay, the shooter in Pittsburgh did not hate Jews more than he hated the other. Actually, we were not on the bottom or top, depends how I look at it, off his list. He hated Hispanics much more than he hated Jews. So why did he kill Jews? Because he went to the source. Without the Jews, the blacks, the Hispanics cannot replace the real America, cannot dilute the excellency of what real America is. What all anti-Semites have in common is the way they look at the Jews. For them, the Jew, in contrary to other races that they consider to be inferior, the Jew is smart, very smart, but not in a good way. Smart in a cunning way. Smart in the Jew's ability to manipulate everyone to do his or her bid. Because as you all know, we Jews control everything. We control politics, we control the media, we control Hollywood, we control the banks. And all the things that happen, we caused, like September 11th and like the war in Iraq. We even established ISIS because it was good for our agenda. It sounds crazy, but that's what we're dealing with, and we have to understand it. So this is the Jew of Purim. Let's just kill them all, or as many as we can. What is the anti-Semite of Purim? What is the anti-Semite of Hanukkah? This is much more complicated. Because the anti-Semite of Hanukkah that is associated, the good examples are the former Soviet Union, the Labour Party in England, and the far left here. What they say to the Jews is, we like you to remain Jewish. Because we're not anti-Semites, we're good people, we're freedom fighters. We work for social justice. So we really want you to remain Jewish, only that we expect you to strip yourself of everything that really makes you Jewish. What we want you to do is to take 3,000 years of civilization, of culture, of history, of ethics, of religion, flush them down the toilet, and then we'll accept you until we don't. For this group, Jews not only are white people, but they are the most privileged white people in the world. And what is the center of this white privileged people? Israel. So these people would tell us, of course we're not anti-Jewish. We love you. Some of my best friends are Jewish, right? We're just anti-Israel. Now, I know it's a cliche, but I have to make it very clear. Criticizing Israel is not anti-Semitism. If I were a hater of Israel, I would have invested in a subscription to an Israeli paper, because nobody criticizes Israel as the Israelis. That's a fact. We have free press. That's what we do. But we're not anti-Israel. How many people criticize America? We all criticize America. Sometimes less, sometimes more. We're not anti-America. We look sometimes with too much glee at what's happening in England. We hold our heads, but we're not anti-England. So you can criticize Israel as much as you want. You can say that Israel is not doing justice to the Palestinian. You can say that Bibi is not leading to two states. Say whatever you want, but that's not what I'm talking about. What makes anti-Israel and anti-Zionism, anti-Semitism, is when people say that Israel has no right to exist. You see, the Jewish people should be the only people in the world who has no right for a state of its own. And people who say that Israel is the last bastion of white colonialism in the Middle East, they're anti-Semites, I have to tell you. I hate using this word and I don't use it lightly. By the way, the majority of Israelis are not white. They're not descendants of Europeans anymore. The majority of the people of Israel are refugees and children of refugees of Arab countries. They had to escape from there. So Israel is not really a white nation, but they don't really care because we are the privileged whites. People who says that Israel, it's the worst place in the world, using terms like apartheid, saying that we are committing a genocide against the Palestinians, but would never say a word about Russia and China and Syria and Turkey and Afghanistan, and I can go on and on. Only Israel. Now, not all anti-Zionists are anti-Semites, because there are some Jews who are anti-Zionist. There is a famous ultra-Orthodox group, Neturei Karta, who are anti-Zionist, and they're against the state of Israel for some religious theological reasons. There are many young people in colleges and universities who support BDS, who support boycott, divestment and sanctions against Israel. I think they do it mostly because they don't really understand the nuances. But the problem is that it's getting to be quite acceptable on the far left. We have to recognize it. We have to call it when it happens. And we have to say, no, this is not okay. Even if I'm loyal to this party, when members of these parties are using anti-Semitic words or trope, as they like to call it today, are talking about Jews who are obsessed with power and money, no, this is not okay. Unfortunately, it's becoming more and more acceptable. And on the other side, when the far right are saying horrible things, are even killing Jews, we cannot play the game of yes, but. There is no yes, buts anymore. By yes, but, I mean, yes, she said that, but, she probably didn't know. Yes, they didn't do it, but they support Israel. No. We have to be strong and clear about it. Another thing we must do, my friends, is to start building a strong Jewish identity, Jewish institutions. We have to wear our Jewishness with pride, not to hide it, not to apologize for it. Remember where we came from. Remember what we brought to the world. Even Christianity and Islam came out of Judaism. Ethical monotheism. anti-slavery. We brought so much and we are giving so much to the world. We have to celebrate it, and we have to build our Judaism, our Jewish state, our Jewish community, not just to be secure and safe places, but to be joyous, to be meaningful, to be generative, to be life-affirming. Let's go back to the slide before. So I use this slide to start my message tonight as a sign of really bad news, and it is. But at the same time, it's a sign of really good news. Do you know how much love and support the Jewish community in general received from the non-Jews around us? You know, this room was much fuller when we had a service, a vigil, after the shooting in Pittsburgh than it is now. There were 1,300 people here. Hundreds of them came from the churches. And that was the case all around the United States. But not only that, we all know what happened in October 27th, right? But do you know what happened the next Shabbat? We didn't pay enough attention to it. Muslims from Canada and North America, all over, formed human chains around synagogues in order to enable them to worship and feel safe. There are descriptions of people in Pittsburgh. Of course, they couldn't hold services in Tree of Life, so they went to another synagogue. And then as they were looking around, they saw many Muslim people wearing their traditional hijabs and other clothes who came to support. And they stood to say the Kaddish, they stood and said Kaddish. And when the Jewish people said Salam, they said Shalom. And when they were asked, why did you do it? When they were asked, why did you give more than $200,000 when the Muslims were asked to support, they said, we do it not only because we're neighbors, but we do it because this is our way to save American soul. Because when there is hatred, when there is xenophobia, when it's chauvinism and bigotry, it's not just bad for the Jews, it's bad for everyone. And together we must fix the fabric of our country. We're not going to eradicate anti-Semitism. It just will mutate to something else. But we can keep it dormant, as it has been for a very long time. We can fight it. But there is something else that cannot happen. Nobody can destroy anti-Semitism, but nobody can destroy the Jewish people. And God is our witness how many people tried. It's not going to happen. But to prevent it from happening or prevent it from being easy, we must stay united against this horrible enemy of all of us. We must keep building our Jewish communities, our Jewish state. We must be proud of where we came from, who we are, and together we must write the new chapter of the Jewish people. As we like to sing, Am Yisrael Chai, the nation, the people of Israel are alive and always will be. Shana Tova.
We continue with the confession, traditional for Yom Kippur. The words can be found on page 82 or on the screens. אלוהינו ואלוהי אבותינו ואמותינו, תבוא לפניך תפילתנו ואל תתעלם מתחנתנו. אנחנו עזי פנים וקשי עורף, לומר לפניך, אדוני אלוהינו ואלוהי אבותינו ואמותינו, צדיקים אנחנו ולא חטאנו, אבל אנחנו חטאנו. Let's read together. Our God and God of all generations, may our prayers reach your presence. And when we turn to you, do not be indifferent. Adonai, we are arrogant, stubborn, claiming to be blameless and free of sin. In truth, we have stumbled and strayed. We have done wrong. Also on page 82 are the words of Ashamnu Bagadnu, the list of all of these sins which we recite. Traditionally, you'll see people. We don't hurt ourselves. The idea is not to hit yourself. We were explaining it to a bunch of kids during religious school. It's not to punch. It's to maybe drive the point home. Even if we haven't committed all of the sins we're about to mention, my guess is at least most of us have committed a few. And so maybe this is just a reminder to let the point sink in that we can do better, we can be better. The words of Ashamnu. Ay, 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 ya, na, na, ay, ay, na, ay, na, na, ay, na,
Hashamnu,
Hashamnu,
Bagadnu,
Bagadnu,
Gazalnu,
Gazalnu,
Dibarnu Dofi,
Nibarnu Dofi, ay, 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 na, na, ay, na, na, ay, na, na, ay, na, na.
He'evinu,
He'evinu,
Vehirshanu,
Ve'irshanu,
Zadnu,
Zadnu,
Hamasnu,
Hamasnu,
Tafalnu Sheker,
Tafanu Shaker, ay, 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 Yatsnura,
Kizavnu,
Kizavnu,
Latsnu,
Latsnu,
Maradnu,
Maradnu,
Niatsnu,
Niatsnu,
Saranu,
Saranu,
Avinu,
Avinu,
Hashanu,
Pashanu,
Saranu,
Saranu,
Kishinu Oref,
Kishinu Orem, ay, 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 ay,
Rashanu,
Rashanu,
Shichatnu,
Shichatnu,
Tiavnu,
Tiavnu,
Tainu,
Tainu, ay, 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 Let's read together. Of these wrongs we are guilty. We betray, we steal, we scorn, we act averse,ly. We are cruel, we scheme, we are violent, we slander, we devise evil, We lie, we ridicule, we disobey. We abuse, we defy, we corrupt, we commit crimes, we are hostile, we are stubborn, we are immoral, we kill, we spoil,
Go astray, we lead others astray.
For all these failures of judgment and will, God of forgiveness, pardon us, forgive us, pardon us, lead us to atonement. The words can be found on page 90. you're able, I invite us all to rise. On page 114 and 115, we read responsively the words of Avinu Malkeinu. It's okay, Ben. You can go to Avinu Malkeinu. Avinu Malkeinu Shema Kolenu.
Avinu Malkeinu, almighty and merciful, hear our voice.
Avinu Malkeinu Chatanu Lefanecha.
Malkeinu, we have sinned before you.
Avinu Malkeinu Chamol Aleinu Ve'olaleleinu Tapenu. Us and our family. Avinu Malkeinu Kale Dever V'cherev V'rav Me'aleinu.
Avinu Malkeinu, all the onslaught of sickness, violence, and hunger.
Avinu Malkeinu Kale Kotsar U'mastin Me'aleinu.
Avinu Malkeinu, all the rain of those who cause pain and terror.
Avinu Malkeinu Kotvenu B'Sefer Chaim Tovim.
Avinu Malkeinu, enter our names in the book of lives well lived.
Avinu Malkeinu Chadesh Aleinu Shana Tova.
Avinu Malkeinu, renew for us a year of goodness.
Avinu Malkeinu Male Yadeinu Mibirchotecha.
Avinu Malkeinu, let our hand overflow with your blessings.
Avinu Malkeinu Charem Keren Mishichecha.
Avinu Malkeinu, let our eyes behold the dawn of redemption.
Avinu Malkeinu Na'al Teshivenu Reikam Milfanecha.
Avinu Malkeinu, we pray, do not turn us away from you with nothing.
Avinu Malkeinu Kabel Berachamim Uvratzon Et Tfilatenu.
Avinu Malkeinu, welcome our prayer with love, accept and embrace it.
Avinu Malkeinu Asei Manu Leman Shemecha.
Avinu Malkeinu, act towards us as befits your name.
Avinu Malkeinu Asei Lemancha Im Lo Lemanenu.
Avinu Malkeinu, act for your sake, if not for ours.
Avinu Malkeinu Elanu Melech Ela Ata.
Avinu Malkeinu, your Lord, our sovereign.
Avinu Malkeinu Ptach She'er Shamayim Litfilatenu.
Avinu Malkeinu, let the gates of heaven be open to our prayer.
Avinu Malkeinu Shema Kolenu Chus V'rachem Aleinu.
Avinu Malkeinu, hear our voice, treat us with tender compassion.
Avinu Malkeinu Chonenu V'anenu Ki Ein Banu Masim Asei Imanu Tzedakah V'chesed V'hoshienu.
Avinu Malkeinu, mighty forever, answer us with grace, deeds of bounty. Save us with acts of justice and love.
Avinu Malkeinu Chonenu V'anenu. Avinu Malkeinu Chonenu V'anenu. Ki ein banu service with the words of Aleinu, which can be found in your prayer books, or Machzorim on page 116.
Aleinu l'shabeach l'adon ha'chol, l'ateiz gedulah li'otzer reshit, shelo asam
turn to our loved ones who we've lost, who we're thinking of at this time of year. If it's your custom to remain standing for the mourner's Kaddish, I invite you to do so. If not, you may be seated. We join together in the words. If you're in your machzor, the words can be found on page 122. Yitkadal, Yitkadash, Shmei Rava, V'alma Divrah, Kirutei, V'amlich Malchutei, V'chayechon, V'yomechon, V'chayei D'chol Beit Yisrael, V'agala, V'izman Kari, V'imru, Amen. Yehi Shmei Rava, Mevorach, Le'olam, L'olmei Almaya, Yitbarach, Yishtabach, Yithahar, Yitromam, Yitnaseh, Yithadar, Yithalev, Yithalal, Medekudesha, B'richu, Le'ela u'le'ela mikol birchata v'shirata, tush b'chata v'nechemata, damiran le'alma v'imru amen. Yehi shalama rabba min shemaya, V'chaim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'mroma, u'yaseh shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, v'imru So you may be seated, although we're all going to leave in a sec. So we're concluding our service tonight in kind of a funny way. So earlier we said the words of Shechianu. Shechianu v'kimanu v'kiyanu lazman hazeh. So some of the rabbis teach that this Shechianu that we're about to say is the most important of the entire year. For giving us life, for sustaining us, and for helping us to reach this day. And I won't tell you the reasons that they give, but maybe you can guess, and maybe you can email or call us and let us know what you think. We conclude with the words of Shechianu.